Hi, everybody. This is Allie at Star Song Reiki. Welcome back to my channel. I am going to talk tonight about the current new moon in Capricorn. So let me share my screen with you. Give me a second to pull it up. Okay, so here we have the new moon in Capricorn on the east coast of the US. It came in at midnight on January 13th, and the sun and the moon are here at the bottom of the chart at 23 degrees of Capricorn, joining Pluto at 24 degrees of Capricorn. So anytime that we have a new moon energy, it is an initiation into the lunar cycle for the month. And so it gives a lot of information about what kind of planetary energies are we going to be working with throughout that month. And so the sun and the moon together in Capricorn, we know that Capricorn is a cardinal earth sign and that it is very pragmatic, realistic, hardworking, and ambitious in manifesting its goals in the material world. The sun and the moon here tend to be very grounded because of the earth element, and they tend to be very action-oriented due to the cardinal quality of the sign of Capricorn. Now, with the new moon initiating next to Pluto, this new moon is really inviting us into the exploration of the shadow side of ourselves and of life. So, for example, Pluto likes to work with power dynamics and kind of identifying those things that might remain hidden from our own view. They might be things that we don't want to necessarily admit to ourselves or show to the world. And there might be a way in which this particular new moon invites us into seeing the world and ourselves as we really are rather than the way we wish it would be. And the Plutonian energy highlights these kind of hidden undercurrents, these parts of our psyche that remain behind or undercover. And it's important with this energy to feel for a truth, the hard truth with Capricorn, that we might have been denying, and yet our gut instinct has been possibly communicating with us. And how do we honor that kind of intuition towards maybe they're hard feelings or hidden feelings or secretive feelings or forbidden feelings. Those might all be Plutonian words combined with the moon. There could be power dynamics that are revealed and revealed in a way that shifts or transforms a person in a way that there's an absolute rebirth. A rebirth energy comes through with Pluto. And it could potentially help you in regaining or being able to see a new perspective that is necessary for you to reclaim your own personal power. That might be another way in which this particular new moon initiation and this month, this lunar cycle invites you into a reclamation of your own personal power. And there could be a way in which there are little things that are communicated, subtle, there's a subtlety here. And yet that subtle undercurrent is also, it has a lot of information. If we're willing to look at it, if we're willing to listen, if we're really willing to listen, which brings me into the next energy play that we're inside of. So that's kind of the sun, moon, Pluto dynamic, where the luminaries, the sun and the moon, are illuminating shadows for our rebirth and transformation in a very practical and grounded, I would even say patient. Capricorn can be patient and kind of play a long game. And it's right there with the next energy configuration, which we have Saturn at 3 degrees of Aquarius, Jupiter at 5 degrees of Aquarius, and Mercury at 7 degrees of Aquarius. So what we have here, the higher expression of Saturn, is using our time wisely and joining forces with Jupiter to grow networks of people, innovative people, problem solvers, progressive people who come together with a common moral vision, would be another good word for Jupiter. And Mercury there is like a megaphone sharing messages. And again, we're being invited, the higher frequency of these planetary energies, the light side of these energies, is inviting us into listening and listening for answers from higher perspectives and allowing those answers from higher guidance, maybe from spiritual guidance, to come in to a structure or a plan or some sort of enduring endurance, a plan or a vision that endures the test of time. This might be a way in which we also find meaning in words. And that those words help us to establish a sense of our own inner authority. Saturn is the inner authority as well as the outer authority. So a higher expression of this energy might be the establishment of an inner authority that listens to messages from higher dimensions. And those messages create a network of people that are problem solvers and progressive, quirky even. So I'm looking at the red lines that are moving up towards Mars and Uranus in Taurus, and that kind of square energy between the three that I was just talking about and Mars and Uranus. And so whenever you have a square, there's a clash, right? They don't go easily together. And we saw that last week with the uprising in the battle that took place at the Capitol. And the word battle is really a very Mars word, and Uranus would be an uprising or insurrection. So on the higher frequency, when we have Mars and Uranus, we are accessing our passion and our fire, our competitive spirit to take action in order to have a breakthrough and begin to innovate in a new way or create ingenious solutions. I would also put that with Uranus as well. Uranus is an illuminating, there's another illuminating energy, and it's an awakener. And so flashes of insight. When I see Mercury squaring Uranus in this way, anytime Mercury and Uranus are in a conversation together, the potential for epiphanies is there. Just all of a sudden I see it in a brand new way. I have a flash of understanding. I feel something's awoken within me. And it's a part of me with the Mars right there with the Uranus that wants to fight for what I believe in, fight for a cause. So those are some of the possible energies that are present. And some of the shadow material that will surface over this lunar cycle with Saturn present and with Mars present will be around fear and frustration. And so writing down your fears, what are you afraid of? And be really honest about what it is that you're afraid of. And then write down your frustrations. I'm really frustrated by this. I'm really angry about this. And that way, the way that the sun and the moon are illuminating the shadows, there's this opportunity to work with what you're afraid of and what you're angry about in a very conscious way. And that is also a very radical breakthrough experience on a personal level. Instead of just putting it on other people, I'm putting it down on paper. I'm writing it out. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid I'm going to get COVID. I'm afraid that a family member might die. I'm afraid that my country is going to have major battles. Whatever it is that you're afraid of, put it down on paper. Be really honest about it. And then you can do either a fire ceremony where the emotions come up, you write it down, you put it in the fire, and you let it burn. Or you can do, like I'm a Reiki master, so I take the fears and I take the anger and I put Reiki, and I offer Reiki to those very specific fears and frustrations. And I might even like create a shape that represents those fears and create a shape that represents those frustrations and give it a color, give it a shape, give it a weight, a temperature, a texture, and really externalize it in a safe way, and then begin to send Reiki to it, say prayers to it, and it begins to transform. And that's the healthy side of Pluto. So you start to work with the astrology in a really conscious way for healing. You know, I don't feel good. Well, why don't you feel good? Well, I'm afraid. Okay, well, what are you afraid of? And get it down on paper and start to create some ceremony around this. The last piece I want to talk about is the Jupiter Mercury. Again, these messages of hope and faith. On the shadow side of that, the trickster energy of words and messages can be really big and grandiose right now. And you'll notice that Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, and that's where the nodes are. And they're squaring Neptune and Pisces. And this dynamic, I've been really pointing to this particular T-square as the dynamic of the disinformation, of the just confusion on the collective level of what is true. And that, you know, people really believe what they believe. whether you agree with them or not, it doesn't matter. What we're all being invited into on a personal level with the sun and the moon is to search for your own truth within you. Open up to listening to answers from higher perspectives and listen to your own inner wisdom, your own inner authority. And a part of that inner authority is going to talk to you about what you're afraid of and what you're frustrated by. Get that all down. It's all information that's for you. Again, it's not about swaying anyone to your side to agree with you. It's not about, you know, at this point in time, it's not about even listening to others necessarily. You can listen to others' points of view if you're able to stay in the presence of that and stay grounded and stay neutral. But if it's really affecting you and stirring you up, don't listen to other people's perspectives right now. Just get really clear about what's going on inside of you and use your time wisely. And that would be a very healthy expression of Saturn. And really write down what your fears and what you're pessimistic about. It's another very Saturnian kind of energy, pessimism. For the shadow side of Jupiter, you might write down what you're overly optimistic about. The important thing is to search for your own inner truth, get really clear about it, the light and the shadow within you. Listen for the messages from higher perspectives, receiving the answers. When you pray and you ask for guidance, then listen and the guidance comes. And so there's a balance within you that you begin to create and make space for in the midst of the emergence of the shadows that are taking place on the collective level. So I'm going to do one again next week when we get to the moon in Aries. So I will follow the moon cycle, the new moon, the quarter moon, the full moon, and the final quarter moon, the last quarter moon, and do a YouTube video each time. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me at Allie@Starsong Reiki, and I hope to hear from you. All right, thanks.